Come read with me. I'm reading from my book, Six of One, Half a Dozen the Other. It's my autobiography, a memoir. And I just finished reading about mine and Dell's breakup. This chapter is called Subversion and Submission. By chance, a few weeks after the breakup, my older brother Randall saw Dell while he was in Clovis visiting my sister Dee. Randall was concerned about the effect the breakup was having on me, so he mentioned it to Dell. He told Dell how I was being teased and humiliated. He told him about my headaches. He told him about the change in my attitude. Dell explained his noble intentions to Randall. Dell told him that after getting to know me and my values, he had decided that I was too nice of a girl. He thought he might be detrimental or a bad influence on me. That was the reason he had not explained while he was breaking up with me. How can you explain something like that? As he told me later, I felt I was not good enough for you. It was a prime example of how honorable Dell really was. The reality was that I was not worthy of him. But when the truth came out about the teasing I had endured and how humiliated I had been, that was all it took. Dell decided once again that he needed to save me from my tormentors. Evidently, the breakup had just been as painful on him as it had been for me. He called the house shortly and asked to speak to me. Mama refused to let him talk to me. He asked if he might come and visit me and was once again denied. She had seen my pain over the breakup and did not want me to be hurt again. Her way of protecting me was to keep him away. It didn't work. All it accomplished was to make him more determined. Secretive efforts were begun to reconcile us. With Dee and Randall acting as couriers, Dee lived just a few blocks from Dell and Clovis. Randall and Dee saw each other often, so they were our go-betweens. I wrote Dell letters, and he sent short verbal messages back to me. I let him know that I wanted to see him and that I was willing to do whatever was necessary to be with him. Love knows no boundaries. Since I knew Dell wanted to see me again, I came up with a plan that even Mama couldn't fight. I understand that she was only trying to protect me, but I was in love with a man who loved me too. I would use her own weapons against her. I sent the following message to him. If you want to see me, Mama can't stop you from coming to church. There is a youth rally Monday night. If you want to see me, be there at 5:30 p.m. Youth rallies were usually held in towns outside of Fresno at other larger churches that could hold a bigger crowd than our little church. Youth rallies consisted of gathering of several church youth groups, pastors, youth leaders, and the congregation of the church, hosting the once-a-month event. It was a time for youth to come together in unity and meet teens from other areas and learn new songs. Often the Bible message was given by one of the youth pastors. After the rallies, the young people stood around and visited with teens from ours and other youth groups. Then, on the long drive home, it was customary to stop at a restaurant or a drive-in and get something to eat. It was always a treat for us because we did not get to eat out often. This particular rally would be in Merced, California, some 60 miles north of Fresno. I had not received an answer to my note, but my hopes were high. I wondered if he had received the note. I wondered if he would show up. I knew he wanted to reconcile with me. I wondered if he really did love me. As we pulled into the church parking lot, I spied an unfamiliar green and white car already waiting in the back of the otherwise empty parking lot, with the front of the car facing the street. I could not see the person in the driver's seat, but I wondered, could it be? Yes, I knew instantly that he had come. My heart leaped in my chest, and my ears burned like fire. Hope sprang new in my heart, and I knew then that nothing would keep us apart. At least, I had hoped so. There was one remaining barrier I had not counted on, though. The question was how to get past it. Without my consent or knowledge, my older sister Fonda had designated herself as my keeper. Since she knew that Mama would not let Dell see me, she barred the way for me to ride with him. "Stay in the car," she said to me rather forcefully. I could have been defiant and gone with him anyway, but it was not in my character to do so. Dell drove the 60 miles to the youth rally alone. I do not know what thoughts he must have been going through his head as he drove in silence to the rally. She refused to let me sit with him once we got inside the church. Rather than make a scene and create more problems for myself, I did as she said. She was my older sister. Dell sat alone. She would not let me talk to him after the rally. In fact, she was so determined in her task to keep him away that she, her husband, and all the other passengers in their car, including me, left immediately after the rally. This was an unusual thing to do because part of the fun of the rallies was visiting and talking afterward. While most of the others stopped for a treat on the way home, we did not. They drove straight back to Highway City. Dell drove the 60 miles home alone. Rather than discourage him, her actions made him even more determined to rescue me from my situation. The following Sunday morning, March 23rd, was Easter. Much to my surprise, Dell showed up at church. He met us on the church steps as we arrived and started to enter the building. He politely asked my mother, "Will it be okay for Violet to go on a picnic with me and my family after church?" My mother was on the spot. He had shown great character. She could have refused, but she did not want to appear to be unreasonable. She gave us her blessing and we were finally reunited. Dell sat with me during the Easter service. Dell had purchased the light green and white 1959 Plymouth while we were being kept apart. It was the car he had driven to the rally. The Easter picnic was at one of Dell's favorite places. We drove northeast on Toll House Road, out of Clovis, and into the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. It was a beautiful spot with early spring grass and wildflowers blooming all around. There was a small brook running near the road with a low bridge, which we crossed to reach the area his family had chosen for the picnic. There were oak trees near the base of the hill and alongside the stream. Hawks were flying overhead and the chipmunks and ground squirrels scurried around on the ground. There were no picnic tables, as it was just an open meadow, so we had lunch on a blanket on the grass. After lunch, Dell and I went for a walk. We climbed a nearby hill and he picked me a bouquet of wildflowers as we made our way to the top. As we reached the crest of the hill, the lines of a song I had recently learned in high school choir began to play in my head. Once, on a high and windy hill, in the morning mist, two lovers kissed, and the world stood still. Then your fingers touched my silent heart and taught it how to sing. Yes, true love's a money-splintered thing. At that moment, as I looked out over the beauty of the surrounding countryside, I was happier than I had been for a long time. Then Dell placed his arm around my waist and leaned down as if he were going to kiss me. I really wanted to let him, but I knew that his whole family were sitting at the bottom of that hill watching, and I did not want them to see us kiss. I turned away and we headed back down the hill with the flowers clasped in my hand. I do not know if he understood or if he took it as rejection. When we reached the bottom of the hill, Dell handed me a disposable coffee cup with water in it and put the flowers in. For the most part, the rest of the afternoon went well. It was the first time I had spent any time with his entire family. The adults sat around talking and eating and drinking coffee, and the kids played ball or hiked around the stream. My sister Dee and her family were there also. The men did some target practice with their rifles. I was sitting on a log talking to Dell's younger sister, who was close to my age. One of the kids threw a ball and it bounced in my direction. The wayward ball missed me but struck a coffee cup that had been left sitting half full on the log. The coffee splattered all over my new Easter dress. It was the first in a series of peculiar incidents that continued to happen. For some reason, every time I was with a member of his family, something got spilled on me. Once it was taco sauce, other times coffee or soda. Looking back on that incident and the ones to follow, I might have gained some insight as to the future that was to be mine. But that is a whole different story up next. After the coffee splashed on my skirt, Dale offered to take me home. We made our way, flowers in hand, to the car he was driving the night of the youth rally. It had very nice interior. The driver's seat swiveled around to make stepping from the car easier. The car had power windows, power seats, power steering. The inside was nicely upholstered and very comfortable. It had an AM/FM radio with stereo speakers. It was a very luxurious car for the time it was built. As I got into the car, on the passenger side, I placed the cup with the flowers Dale had picked for me on the dash of his car. Dale patted the seat next to him, indicating that I should sit closer to him. I scooted over to his side of the car and looked up, just as he winked at me in the mirror. I shyly winked back and forgot to take the wildflowers off of the dash. The radio was on and playing one of our favorite songs. He pulled onto the road, and as he made a U-turn to head home, the cup tipped over and the water ran into the louvered slits on the dash, promptly extinguishing the music and shorting out the radio. I could tell he was upset and figured that this would surely be the end of our renewed romance. I was certain that he would take me home and never come back. He was disturbed about his radio and was probably thinking it was ruined, but he held his tongue and did not even scold me. Neither of us spoke after that. Inside, I cringed at the final injustice against our reunion. Approximately 30 minutes later, when we were about halfway home, the strained silence was broken by a crackle and static. Then, sounds that seemed as if someone was singing underwater, and at last, music sounded clear and hopeful. Wouldn't you agree? Baby, you and me, we've got a groovy kind of love. We both breathed a huge sigh of relief and smiled at each other. I was saved again. After that Sunday, we began again our dating routine, such as it was. It was only a few more days before our courtship took a different turn. One cool spring night on our way home from church, he pulled the car off the pavement and parked on the dirt behind a large bush in front of my house. He turned off the motor of the car and turned to face me. Then, much to my surprise, he said, "What would you say if I asked you to marry me?" I had not really expected a proposal this soon, although I must have expected it might happen eventually. But I had my priorities. 2 of the older girls had married their sweethearts before graduating from high school, and I did not want to follow their example. It was important to me that I finish my senior year and graduate. "I can't marry you until I graduate," I said. Over the next few days, he asked me several times if I would marry him. Each time my reply would be the same: "I can't marry you until I finish high school." He was very persistent. I finally realized that I wasn't answering the way he expected, so I asked him, "What color wedding do you want?" "Red and white," he replied. Through the years, he always insisted that I propose to him. We set the wedding date for the following June, after my graduation. The next time I was in Clovis with him, we shopped for wedding rings. He had been doing some shopping on his own. He had found a set of rings that he thought would be perfect since they were red and white and would match the colors of the wedding. He took me into the jewelry store and showed me the rings he had chosen. The rings were covered with rubies and diamonds, set in white gold. When I tried the rings on, the jeweler said they were simply too gaudy on my thin white fingers. He suggested something a little more classic. We did not find anything more suitable that day and did not shop for rings again. Then, one evening while we watched television at my house, he said to me, "Let me see your hand." I handed him my right hand, thinking he wanted to hold it as usual. "No, the other one," he said. I reached across my lap and handed him my left hand, wondering why he would want to hold it. I was totally taken by surprise then when he put a very simple but elegant ring on my finger. It was a size and a half too large, which would require adjusting, but with a very small diamond set in a yellow gold square with platinum accents around it, it was perfect for me. It was official. We were now engaged to be married. The wedding was scheduled for over a year away. We had plenty of time to get to know each other and plan for the big day. We were abundantly, blissfully happy. However, we had forgotten about the change in Dale's draft status.